And NEQLS, which is, there was a previous discussion in a board meeting about the history of, what the town has done annually to NEQLS. And obviously how things have changed over the years, not only in the dollars, and I forget what the highest amount was back years ago, 150, and then it went down, okay. And then I know the board, we were like, well, what's the difference between NEQLS and WEMS and all that stuff? And oh boy, now wait a minute.
You keep talking. But
What's in the bag?
it's not ticking.
Like I said, now I am putting words in your mouth, Paul. Those are two
Thanks, Mark.
non-departmental contracts that were, well, Doc, yes, the other day we met with Joe Parisi, our insurance agent.
Correct.
All right, because I'm sure there's got to be $700,000-800,000 of premium that we pay. So as we go into the budget, we needed to talk to him. So you're not being singled out. We're looking at everything on this 2021, and I will say this: in light of what's going on in 2020 and the uncertainties of where we're at, yeah, we're looking at everything.
I'm going to ask for more. So
You can ask for anything you want.
the reality is that, I put some bullets down, but we are, what?
Hey, you need to cross the blue line.
The reality is that EMS in this town and frankly in this county is wickedly underfunded. The community, so it doesn't matter how they get the money, whether it's West Webster's Fire District, Northeast Droid's Fire District, Penfield's Fire District, or the town funding the police, we give almost $8 million to 2/3 of the first responders in this community. $8 million. I get $50,000 and I have to fight for it. We ran 6,000 calls last year. That's more than all the fire departments together. We staff the fire department on that side. We're running most of their calls. I'm getting less than $2 per citizen in the town of Webster. They're getting $200 a citizen. When COVID blew up, who stopped taking calls? The 2/3 that are getting $8 million. Who kept going? Us. Who has to figure out every month how to make payroll? Who has to ask Paul every 2 weeks, please, I'm begging. I have payroll on Wednesday, I need a check today. This is not logical in any way in the world. And so, yes, I understand we are a private company, but we're a public service, right? We're not a private company to make ourselves money. No one leaves with a tax benefit or, a big financial payout at the end. We finished with $14,000 in our bank account last year. On a $2.6 million budget, that's as close to the razor's edge as you can get. And so I want you to understand, since Supervisor Flaherty, you're a financial guy, flip to page 2. Let me show you our dilemma, because you have to understand how the math works. Mr. Dean, I can't see you. You're in a terrible spot. You made a comment a moment ago that, hey, if we just charge rent to somebody, all they'll do is increase the taxes. I don't have that opportunity. In the police department budget, you budget $250,000 of overtime. You plan for going over budget in their budget. And I'm asking for $50,000. Let me show you. So look on page 2 if you wouldn't mind. Remember, NEQ is the paramedic service that provides intercept for both West Webster and Webster Ambulance. So we have to think of Webster Ambulance as its own entity because it really is its own entity. We just operate it for you. In 2019, so just in 10 months, because we changed our billing company, so only had 10 months of quick data, we billed out $499,000. We collected $164,000. Now, Tom, you were a businessman for a long time. How many businesses run on collecting less than a third of their outgoing revenue?
That's pretty bad.
That's pretty bad. We wrote off, in the West Webster side of town, if I annualized it, $186,000. I'm begging for $50,000. I can't do that anymore. We wrote off $186,000. On the west side of town, where we have a commercial ambulance that's functioning properly, even then, we wrote off $62,000. So on the half where the commercial ambulance is functioning as it's expected to be, we're writing off more than the town is giving us for the whole town. In aggregate, we wrote off $240,000. We can't run a business like that. It doesn't work. If you flip the page and go to page 2 or 3, when you look at the WEMS side of the business, so where it's operating properly with NEQ, we are writing off at most 12%. I can live with 12%. Year to date, we're at 9%. On the west side of town, we are writing off 40 and so far 27%. On the east side of town, we are writing off 12 and 9. Those are staggering differences. But in aggregate, it's an incredible amount of money. And we need help. It doesn't seem fair, and fair I know is a funny word, that 2/3 of the first responders get $200 a citizen on average, right? If you do the math for the number of calls by taxes, they're getting $1,400 a call. I'm getting $4. How does that make sense? We need help. The community has to support EMS in a fashion similar to the way fire and police are done. We are paying fire and police to stand by, whether they get calls or not. I only get paid when I take a call, and when I do get paid, I'm getting less than 50 cents on the dollar. That is a very hard way to balance a budget every 2 weeks. And that's what I do, every 2 weeks. I've become a cash flow management expert like you can't believe, and Paul knows, we're here knocking on the door. Please, payroll is on Wednesday. I need the money today. In the meantime, guys are building docks and doing this and that. We're not getting anything. The town has to look. Henrietta's given $1 million. Brighton, $380,000. I mean, there are communities that are, I would say, super funding. Penfield gives money. Now, some towns have a unique arrangement where it is, come to us at the end of your fiscal year, tell us what the deficit is, and we'll fund you the deficit. That makes it a random number for you, plus or minus a little bit. That's how Brighton works. But we can't be at $0. Either we have to figure out a tax district or some taxing entity, or we have to find some other way. But this deficit it's breathtaking. When I saw these today, I did the math twice. I was like, this can't be right. But this is the math I balance every 2 weeks. The fire department doesn't do that. The police department doesn't do that. Last week, Tom, when the county asked for ambulances to go stand by during the riots, at the bottom of their note, you will not be reimbursed. So I, in my moment of not thinking, I sent a reply all to everybody on that list and said, are the sheriffs and fire department not getting paid? They're getting paid overtime. EMS will not be reimbursed. We have to fix this inequity, or else we won't survive this way.
I wonder if there's such a thing as an ambulance district.
There is.
Yes.
We
That's
just
what I
check
was
with the
just
Office
gonna
of State
ask.
Control.
We have it in Penfield. We are an ambulance
Yeah.
district. Well, sorry. More correctly, we are a special use district in the town of Penfield. So
Correct.
the town of Penfield is my ambulance board. Supervisor Little Fountain, I give him my numbers, and last year he took me from 12 to 20. This year I'm going to ask him to go from 20 to 25 or 30. Right? I show him the numbers, he understands, and he can just pull it up. But remember, that comes into your tax cap.
Right.
Because
It's in your tax cap?
Yes, sir. Because in New York
Unfortunately.
State, there's no entity as EMS in statute,
Well, special districts should be exempt from the tax cap, but they're not.
but they're not. So I just want you
It's
to
a
know
bubble.
it's in your tax cap. But if I ask for $200,000, which I'd really like to get, that's $5 a person in this town. That is peanuts in the grand scheme of things. That is peanuts, right? We spent how much, Joe, on the road on Lake Road? $1 million and some dollars.
Well,
Somebody did, right? Somebody's tax money did. Someone spent $1 million and some dollars there, right? We're spending money in places, and I understand there's all these places. All I'm asking is that I don't want to have to balance my budget every 2 weeks. It's a tough way to run a business. A business that is adding, if it wasn't adding some value, I'd be okay, I'll figure it out until I can't anymore. I think we make a difference in the community.
I'm gonna.
I'm gonna go sit
No,
down.
I mean, you know what, I'm trying to think how to say this without sounding like a jerk, okay? But I'm gonna play devil's advocate for a
Sure.
second here, okay? You need to understand, NEQ is a separate entity from WEMS. Is that correct?
So, yes and no. WEMS is
No.
WEMS is nothing.
Very good.
WEMS does not exist in the world. WEMS is a piece of paper from the Department of State that says you may operate an ambulance. The town doesn't
That's what we
operate.
just got back in January.
Yeah. So the town doesn't have employees to operate an ambulance, so you had a choice. You can either staff up and buy equipment and create an ambulance, or you can contract. So you contract with us. And so we operate that ambulance for you. We started the ambulance with no expense from the town of Webster. We get no money from the town to operate that ambulance.
So, is it safe to assume that it's one entity that files 990s as a non-for-profit?
NEQ files a 990, correct?
And NEQ encompasses WEMS, because WEMS is just semantically,
No, we contract staff.
They staff it.
We staff it.
Okay.
And operate.
but it's not a separate tax ID number or anything like
It's
that.
actually town road.
Okay.
Because
So,
we actually.
I've heard you say many times, we do $2.3 million in annual billings. I'm not gonna, I can't figure that out from what is a 15-month, I think, schematic that you showed here on page 2 and 3 to get to $2.3 million.
I'm still showing a piece of the NEQ. You're not seeing WEMS revenue.
Okay. So at the $2.3 million, and it comes down to a $14,000 surplus, profit, surplus, whatever, okay, which is razor
Same
thin,
balance, right.
right? Razor thin, right? And this is where I'm gonna play devil's advocate. So when I go and look at those 990s, and I'm very familiar with how non-for-profits work, you can get down to $14,000 by paying the executive director $1 million a year. So and I don't want to speak for the rest of the board members, I'm not adverse in your passionate plea. I gotta say, there's no question, it's wonderful. But I'm gonna need a little bit more auditing and some history and all that stuff, you know, and to understand all of that before I would have any gumption to increase the number.
You're free to look. What question would you like on the 980 that I can't tell you from my head? I know it. Right? The board of directors are volunteers. We have 3 chief officers that drive their personal vehicles to work, except for one. He is our chief, and we have it for command incidents. The others share a vehicle. I drive a 2013 Chevy Malibu I have in my pocket. I get paid to be the chief executive, a very nominal sum of money.
Like I said, there was no way I was gonna say it that didn't come off as a jerk, devil's advocate. I'm not questioning your lifestyle and all that stuff. I'm just saying
We aren't wasting any money.
that before the town says, oh, that's an impassioned thing, and it sounds, and this presentation looks great, we should give them $150,000. We should go and do what Henrietta does and give $1 million. I'm not there, I'm just being honest with you. I would have to see more, and I have auditing experience, and I know what I would want to see. I can't speak for Patty, Bill, and Barry, but there'd be a lot more that I would want to see and peel back the onion before I could sit there and say, you know, we really do need to fund this.
Well, let's see it.
Yeah, tell me which one. The books are open. No, but I mean, but Tom, I mean, the 6 lines you care about are right here. Don't worry about how I run my business. Worry that no matter what I do, those 6 lines don't change. That's got nothing to do with my 990. I'm losing $150,000.
Well, and I gotta be honest with you, okay? Don't worry about how you run your business. There's something about this being a private business that I'm like, when did private businesses get government subsidy as like a, you know, it's just a given? I get it. This is, and I don't mean to be insensitive, an ambulance to me is more like a government service. But is it safe to say that 10 years ago, when all of a sudden the fire departments couldn't charge for their ambulance service, that is what spawned private-owned ambulance services?
Monroe Ambulance is celebrating 75 years. Corning Ambulance is celebrating 100.
Let me rephrase the question.
What?
How many private ambulance services were prior to 10 years ago when it was, I don't know if I would call it deregulated, but when all of a sudden the fire departments who used to be able to send ambulances out now couldn't bill for that?
So 17 ambulances in Monroe County are all private. And they've been private for decades. Prior to that. Pittsburgh never had an ambulance. Penfield never had an ambulance. Barrington never had an ambulance. Brighton never had an ambulance in their fire department. Henrietta never had one in their fire department. They've always been private entities separate.
So how does Monroe Ambulance, which I'm very familiar with, because actually my father insured it for many years, how do they fund?
Through third-party billing. Right?
How do they make money?
Same way we do. Same way you
Well,
do.
is third-party billing including getting money from our towns and municipalities?
I don't know how they have contracts anywhere, but they also have Medicab. They also do
And
training.
like I said, now I do feel like I'm being a jerk.
What a jerk.
I am. But if Monroe Ambulance is a private-owned ambulance, and is getting third-party billing and no government subsidy, if I'm hearing correctly, from towns or municipalities, would you consider that your private-owned business is a similar structure and entity to Monroe Ambulance?
I would. I'd also consider it similar to CHS, which is getting $1 million. So which coin would you like to be on the side of? Right? And Monroe has contracts. So one of the things they do differently, they contract to the hospitals. We can't do that. We don't have any hospitals in our town. They have the entire transport contract for all of Rochester Regional. AMR has the entire transport contract for AMR, or Strong. Every patient that comes and goes there goes by them. We don't have that opportunity, right? We don't have contracts with the nursing homes. We don't have Medicabs. We don't have that opportunity. Ours is a very well-defined, because of our CON, to the town of Webster, and whatever revenue we can generate out of this town. That's what makes it different than Monroe.
What revenue are you getting out of Penfield?
I'm sorry?
Does our CON cover Penfield?
No, but NEQLS does. We cover the Empire down to the Bay and down Danbury Road to 5 mile-ish about. So we
Okay.
cover a piece of it.
I'm gonna step up because you guys are leaving me to be the real deposer here. You know that?
No, your questions
I
are
don't
fair.
want to.
I know, I tease him.
You know,
I'm trying to lighten things up a little bit.
I'm glad you are, Barry, because
What does Penfield give NEQ?
They gave us 12, they raised it to 20 last year, and we're gonna ask for 30 this year. But they're also a fraction of our call volume. Right?
So when I look at these numbers, I see a huge discrepancy from what goes on with WEMS and NEQ
In West Webster.
and West Webster and NEQ.
Yep. And the reason is because West Webster can't go.
And that's where you're really hemorrhaging.
We're dying. Right? And that's what the $50,000 was for.
How do we fix that without throwing more money in it?
It's a question for another day. Thank you.
But
You
maybe
have
it's
to
a
leave in 9
question-
minutes, we don't have time.
Maybe it's a question that we need to delve into.
Well, I mean, there are a few ways, right? So one is, the town has, when we created WEMS, we said we would be second call on that side of town. So we are giving up however many calls they take first out that WEMS isn't getting.
How many do they take, do you know?
So in 2019, it was about 1,700 calls, so it's 64% of their call volume is EMS. So a little bit more than half. So those calls aren't coming to us. Those calls get taken by a volunteer ambulance, which can't bill, and then, so if you're not reading all my bullets, I take a Medicaid call, so someone without health insurance, the drug overdose in the Wegmans bathroom, the drug overdose in Walmart, I go to all those calls, I get $0, I can't even bill the patient. Those are charity calls. Who's helping me pay for those? Right? Then we go to Medicare. Medicare pays us sometimes $83 a call. It doesn't pay for my fuel and my staff. Right? So that's where we get into trouble, is out there, because when you're going with an ambulance that can't bill, when we go on the east side and the west side, we can bill at an ALS rate, and we get paid at the rate. Bless you.
Thank you.
So not to belabor the point, but the answer is I need more, not less. I need a lot more. And you can see why. This is not just asking, I wanted you to have facts, because I know you're a numbers guy. Right? I wanted you to know where we're bleeding and why. This isn't us driving 15 Chiefs cars, it's not fun. There are $30 million of firehouses in this town. I'm living in a 4-bay garage. I have no bedrooms, I have no kitchen, I haven't even figured out yet how to pay for my building. How does that make sense in this town?
Who does the transporting for St. Anne's and them?
Cherry Ridge?
Yeah.
So if it's a scheduled transfer, typically Monroe has that contract. If it's an emergency, then we, West Webster gave up.
You get emergencies.
Yep. I mean, I put it down to $1 per citizen. I'm asking for $5 a person. It's not a huge amount of money.
We originally paid this money to help them cover their shortages. And over the years, we've reduced it from 150 to 50. It doesn't appear that the shortages have reduced. I don't know.
Started a bad trend.
I like the idea of getting an ambulance district, but I know that keeping under the cap is difficult enough. And there's times when we can't get under the cap, and there's times when we can. I don't know. Just a thought maybe this is the time where you don't get under the cap because you're supporting this endeavor, and maybe it's not. And we fought like hell to get this. But I'm with you in looking at the numbers to make sure that you're comfortable with it, because
Well, look, my to-do list has gotten longer and boo-hoo on me, that's just, but one of the things that I always wanted to do, because of my own experience a couple years ago, is understand how you bill, because a couple years ago, I got two $700 bills from being taken to Rochester General from that Holt and 104 Dunkin' Donuts in the gas station there. And when I got two $700 bills for an aggregate of $1,400, I thought, well, it's got to be a duplicate and whatever. And I called the Roy, where they did the billing. He said, no, it's not. One's Northeast, one's Wems, whatever, Webster. And we bill $700 for this, and I'm like, whatever. I was busy doing my thing, and so I paid it.
Well, your insurance card.
No, because a high deductible, you're going to pay it, okay? Every action has a reaction. That's one of the negative sides about low premium, high deductible plans, is you will pay those bills, all right? So now, I heard when I was campaigning, I've heard from people, we have an older contingent in Webster. Very upsetting when they get those bills. When they call in and say, I don't understand why I got that bill, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm kind of in the same thing as you. I don't understand why I got my bills.
Because it was a type of call. If you'd said you'd stubbed your toe, you only would have gotten one bill. But they might not have saved you either.
Well, I need to understand that. Well, thanks a lot.
Well, no, because they couldn't have. They wouldn't have sent the proper people. So when it's a call of you can't breathe, a heart issue, things like that, now you need the advanced life support. If WEMS or West Webster comes, they can't provide advanced life support. They only have, I might be going in a dangerous place, but they only have EMTs, not paramedics. So
Okay.
depending on the call you get.
Right, and I just want to, I'm sure in about an hour over coffee, Ahmed or what could explain it to me. It was on my to-do list.
I think I just did.
Then you probably did, but you know what? There's a series of other, because people have said, hey, they came out to my house, I said I didn't want to go to the hospital, I still got a bill. I want to make sure I understand all the different scenarios, so when people do call Kim and me and say, hey, I have a bit more understanding, to explain it.
And one of the things I think that's relevant to the topic that I hear all the time is, why don't you pay for the fire department? Yes, absolutely you do. And you pay for the police department. You just lose it in your taxes. We're a fee for service. You pay for us when you use us.
I'm going to ask a question that might not, I don't know if it's politically correct or whatever. And do we have the perfect storm here that Webster does have, on average, a pretty large contingent of senior citizens? And are those senior citizens the ones when you get calls to, you don't get paid?
Well,
Many.
not sure.
You
There's
want
also,
me to speak up on that behalf?
please.
My mother flatlined 2 years ago on her birthday, and they defibbed her 5 or 6 times. I think they're ready to pronounce her. They brought her back. 7 days in the hospital, she was back home. She turned 89 last week.
John, I think that's fantastic. My question was, and maybe I didn't ask it the right way,
Let me answer
is
your
if they're on Medicare or Medicaid, and I always get that confused,
Medicaid is when you have no income. Medicare is when you're over 65.
which one do you not get paid on?
Medicaid. Not a dollar. Can't even bill it. On this side of town.
Are you-
That side of town, we bill it to the end.
So you're losing money on your Medicaid calls.
And our Medicare bills.
Why are you losing on the Medicare
So
calls?
reimburse us at $83 a call, we charge $5,000. How's that for a differential in your calculation?
It's only what they cover.
That's federal, they don't recognize advanced life support intercept because we're not transporting ambulance. So the difficulty on this side of town, right, the problem is on the west side of town, very clearly, right? It's $186,000 on that side of town versus 62 year to date. So the difficulty is that because they don't bill, so on this side of town, when, as Patty was saying, when we show up on that ambulance, we make WEMS and ALS ambulance. they bill at an ALS rate, and then they pay NEQ out of that. That's how that side gets covered. On this side, because they cannot generate a bill legally, because you're paying taxes for it, right? Then we have to bill the patient. The patient says, "F this, I didn't have for you to come, I'm not paying." And that's where we get stumped. And you get me. So not only do we have a difficulty, but there's a line here called trying to collect from private pay, insured self-pay, medical deductibles up to 15 months later. We are chasing bills from January of 2019. How's that for your cash flow management? You can't even budget for that, right? So Tom, you get a $700 bill, I'd like to get paid in 30 days. You say, well, you're not gonna, or I'm gonna keep the check that I got and deposited. I have to take you to collection 9 months later. In a year in 2021, you pay me $250 out of it at $50 a week for 5 months. What, that money has no value to that and dead, right? The healthcare system is broken. It is absolutely broken. And we are the lowest of the low. Even through all this COVID, as you know, they compared the essential services, EMS wasn't even listed. We're not even considered, right? People don't think about it, but we're a vital part of the life chain in our communities. And Webster has proven that. As Mr. Dean said, we fought long and hard to get Webster in here. You have the best response rate in Monroe County for EMS, bar none. 98.6% was my coverage last month. Nobody's doing that. And our response times are better, but we need help. I mean, this is real numbers.
You know, and we did fight long and hard for this, but the discussion all the time was, we really believed that at some point down the road, this town needed an ambulance district. Because we had a real conundrum with the west side being treated one way and the east side being the other. And the vision for this was somewhere down the road, and we may not be sitting at this table, it might not be us when that whole ambulance thing comes to fruition, but that was always discussion, that that really would be ideal, and this would be the first step towards it. I'm not the only one who heard that discussion, was I? Everybody's looking at me.
No, I'm,
Billy's either studying his flip-flops or he fell asleep.
And it's just difficult because I understand their need,
I do too.
but we've got 19 departments that have needs.
Everybody needs.
At some
we all-
point, we gotta say either no, or we're gonna say, let's raise the taxes $5 to get the money that they need to do the things they need to do. So that's something.
When you
the board-
say raise the taxes $5, like go from a $5 rate to a $10 rate?
I think he's being facetious.
Well, I just wanted to make sure you
See the
understood what you
number
meant by
you add
$5.
We're at $4.16, I think.
522.
5.20. We're gonna be $8 to cover all the costs that everybody's asking us to cover.
So I think also,
So this board's gonna have to make a decision.
Right.
Who's gonna get the money for their piece of the pie? That's what we're up against. That's what we're gonna have to decide.
That's where we are
Every budget, but I'm just laying it out there so we all understand where we're working from.
so I'm going to bring this back if I could, because my hard stop was 7.
Yes.
And we haven't addressed the other 2 issues to which I'm liaison, and I probably should be around. So and I'm totally appreciative of this. You and I have talked several times about this, as we're both aware. The agenda was to discuss the contracts. We haven't even gone to WIDA yet. Hell, some people just found out what it is. So, you know, this isn't something we're gonna solve tonight, and this isn't something we can promise anybody tonight, but it's just background for going into our budgets. And you can take time to look into the 990s and get your head wrapped around the numbers, and I'm sure Ahmed is very open to discussing all of those with you.
Almost current, but
Yeah. And we just need to keep this in mind as we move forward.
I mean, I hear you, Mr. Abbott, but I'm asking for $5 a person. I'm not asking for $4 per thousand. I'm asking for, in the grand scheme of pittance, if we did a tax district and you did it right, we could get it so that no Webster residents ever paid out of pocket. There are models to do that, right? You paid for insurance. That's what you're paying the fire department for. It's what you're paying the police department to. Let's hope I never use it. In my case, you use me 6,000 times a year. I just bought an ambulance the other day for $5 grand. That's all I had to spend. $5 grand. They're $180,000. I'm begging and scratching to keep this, to keep us moving here and keep ambulances going and everything. There comes a point at which you say, guys, you gotta help.
You bought
right?
it for $5,000.
Yeah, I bought a third-hand
It
ambulance.
doesn't look like the Ghostbusters vehicle. does it?
No, we'll sticker it up and it'll look beautiful, you'll never know. But we shouldn't have to run that way. We're a life-saving entity in the community. And I'm living on brownies and bake sales. It's killing me. So, I will tell you whatever numbers you need. You tell me and I'll get them for you.
I'm gonna get with you, because, and like I said, not from a deposition standpoint, I need to understand it better. And there's a lot, ambulance districts being talked about before here, obviously, I wasn't involved in that discussion. West side, east side, Medicare, Medicaid, all of those things, and I gotta get it down on paper and make sure I understand. Maybe you guys all do understand. I don't.
Can we do a special workshop just for that? Can we have a... No, I'm serious. It's a 2-hour discussion. I'm not kidding. It's taken me 20 years to figure it out. But it's...
I reserve judgment on that one.
I think that by the sounds of things, Patty probably understands it better than any of us because she spent a great deal of time with you talking about it. I understand some of it. I know the purpose of it. That's what's important to me. I don't have to understand all the nuts and bolts, and I know what the purpose of it is. And I would be all for a district, like a fire district. That, to me, makes a lot of sense. It's another tax, but
But it only works if Webster's not providing
Yeah,
EMS
as long as
services.
West Webster stayed in the business, we can't have a district.
Right?
No, you can. You can have it on these
Well,
sides.
it could be an East Side district.
Well, yeah, but.
I'm gonna, look, and
Okay.
I'm gonna just throw something out, and not to be the last word, it's not what I'm trying to do. And Joe, your story, that's wonderful with your mom, right? And all of us want the best ambulance service and call times and all that stuff for our citizens. I don't think anybody is saying that. It's a private industry. And it's similar to what I said about, to ProSAR when they came in here asking for $4 million. You guys got all these people that, why don't you set up like the library did, a, board of directors for a fundraising entity? Because the library, there will be people that want to give money to the library. I'm not doing that with the highway department because I don't think that people want to give money to the highway department. People would give money to Parks and Rec. So, doesn't it seem like you obviously must have gone out and did fundraising to build your private entity's building at $1 million, $1.5 million, or whatever it costs? You're an impassioned person, gets up here or whatever. What type of efforts have gone into explaining this situation? And I don't even think you would need a separate entity. You could get fundraising and donations for all the reasons that you just gave us.
So you lived in the Webster for 5 years at least. You've probably gotten at least 5 of my fundraising letters. How many times have you donated to me?
I gave you $100,000 last year. Oh, no, that's not. Okay.
I have sent out a fundraising letter every year since we bought the land on Jackson Road.
Mhm.
I barely recover my investment on mailings. Because everybody thinks it's covered by taxes.
Yeah.
That's the difficulty.
I mean, you're a talented guy, but there might be some validity to having some type of firm that could show you a different tact on how to go out and get fundraising on that.
We asked grant writers, they won't help us. We can't get any money from the ASC grant because we're not a fire department. I've done this for 20 years.
Okay.
I mean, this is not.
But I'm just saying that, if anything, I'm consistent. I said this to ProStar, I said this to the library, you can't just come in and ask for money from us. I want to make sure that you're maximizing every, I'm a God helps those who help themselves person. I just want to make sure, and I'm not, look, who was the guy now? I can't remember. Scott, the grant writer.
Scott.
I'm going to turn you on to him, all right? Because I want you to sit down with that guy because, they're for the Parks and Rec
Parks and
Department.
Rec, open space,
we aren't doing something that somebody else can come do. No one else can come do that business in this town. Because
Okay.
it's UN.
And Patty, you need to get up north, and we do need, but I'm gonna just tell you this, okay? And maybe I'm way off base. You think that Joe Herbst and his family have very good feelings about NEQLS and WEMS based on what they did for their mother, who now is thriving at 89 years old? You think they do? Is it possible that situations like that might also have, and I mean, it's not just donations, there's what are they called? Bequests or whatever.
Yeah, but we save them. We don't want them.
Entities get, the library, that organization, Paul, didn't they just, someone passed away and in their will gave 40 grand to the library. Because there is an entity that's out there marketing for fundraising, and it's not just sending out letters, is my guess. Nothing against the way you did it.
But he probably couldn't use that for operating expenses.
Oh, I don't know that. I mean, you know,
I'm just guessing, probably couldn't, but,
It's always good. Yeah, it turns out. Obviously, much older question. All I'm telling you is, this is my problem. How you can help me, I don't know.
Okay,
But it can't be less than what you give me today.
okay.